Welcome to the Psychology channel. If you've ever felt like you're living with someone who has I, me, mine written in invisible colors on their forehead, then this video is for you. Today we're going to discuss how to live with an egomaniac and still not lose yourself. As they say, to live with an egoist is not to forget yourself. Stay with us, it will be interesting, informative, and sometimes funny. Today, we delve into the fascinating, annoying, and sometimes hilarious world of living with a selfie. The ones who think the world revolves around them? Yeah, those guys. If you've ever felt like you live with someone who has an invisible me, myself, and only me tattoo on their forehead, fasten your seatbelts because this video is for you. We'll examine egoism up close and personal. You'll learn why some people have egos the size of Moscow. And most importantly, how to navigate this challenging terrain without losing your mind. First of all, let's define the concept of selfishness. In short, an egoist is someone who truly believes that they are the protagonist in a movie called life. Everyone else? They're just extras. But why do people become selfish? Maybe they were raised with rose-colored glasses, constantly telling them how special they were. Or maybe they misinterpreted the phrase, love your neighbor, as love yourself more than your neighbor. Anyway, living with a selfish person can be a real test of patience, but fear not, my friends. Your partner always picks up on the last little thing without even asking if you want it. And if you bring this to his attention, he will say, but you didn't say you wanted it. It's like the old saying, another man's soul is a dark place, but mine is a bright room. Try to explain to your partner that it is important in a relationship to develop a desire for a friend. Say, it would make me feel good if we shared pizza equally. What do you think? Imagine a world where your partner truly believes that the Earth revolves around them. You, my friend, are but a satellite in its orbit. Sound familiar? It's the style of the egoist, always putting yourself first, often at the expense of others. They have this uncanny ability to suck the air out of a room, leaving you feeling invisible and insignificant. But before we hang the label selfie on anyone who forgets to pull up their socks, let's remember that there's a whole spectrum here. We all have an ego, it's part of human nature. But in some people, that ego swells to epic proportions, casting a shadow over everything and everyone around them. Living with an egoist is like watching a movie where the main character is not you, or even a minor character, but someone who was cut out in the editing. Constant feelings of unappreciation, resentment, and even loneliness are the reality of many people. The wolf feeds the feet, but in a relationship, it is important that both are fed. You plan a vacation together. Your partner has already bought the tickets, selected hotel and excursions without your participation. You find out about it after the fact and consider yourself an extra passenger in this trip. Open the dialogue. It's important for me to be involved in our plans. Let's decide together next time where to go. Living with a selfish person can be like having a relationship with yourself. You are constantly giving, compromising, and putting his needs before your own. It's exhausting to say the least. You may begin to doubt your own worth, feeling unheard, unnoticed, and unappreciated. But wait a minute, my friend. Don't let his inflated ego overwhelm your spirit. Remember, you deserve to be in a relationship where your needs are met, your voice is heard, and your presence is valued. Don't forget about yourself. Your own shirt is closer to your body. But that doesn't mean you should forget about your partner's closet. Set personal boundaries, and don't let them be violated. Working about yourself is not selfishness. It is a prerequisite for a healthy relationship. If you constantly need your attention, leave your partner on vacation or personal time, this is a signal to the mechanism. Say, I need time to myself to energize. Let's agree on a time when we can do our own things. All right, guys, let's be honest. Living with a selfish person is like walking through a minefield of emotional landmines. One wrong step, and boom, an explosion of self-centeredness hits you, leaving you devastated and broken. It's like they have this magical ability to turn every conversation, every situation, into something related only to them. You can talk about the meaning of life, and somehow they will find a way to boil it down to their new haircut. And don't even get me started on the constant need for approval and admiration. Forget sincere heart-to-heart talk. It's all about them, always. It's exhausting, isn't it? Dealing with an egoist can feel like a one-gate game, but patience and hard work will change everything. Open and honest communication is your best ally. Use self-talk to express your feelings without accusations. Instead of, "You never listen to me," form, "I feel unheard when my thoughts go unheeded." This approach helps reduce your partner's defensive reactions and increase the assurance that they will listen to you. But the thing is, my friends, living with a selfish person is not just about putting up with their self-centered antics. This can have real consequences for your emotional well-being. Imagine you've had a long day, you're feeling stressed and tired, and all you want is to be listened to and cried to. But your selfish partner? He's too busy telling you about his own problems, his own victories, to even notice that you're about to have a nervous breakdown. Sound familiar? Yes, my friends, fighting self-centeredness is no joke, and it can leave you feeling unheard, unnoticed, and incredibly alone. So, my friends, let's talk about boundaries. And no, I'm not talking about those invisible lines you draw in your head while sharing a bed with a man who pulls the whole blanket down on you. We're talking about those important emotional and psychological barriers that protect your well-being when you're dealing with a selfish person. Imagine your selfish partner is like an elephant in a china shop, completely oblivious to the fragility of your emotional state. Your task? Build a very nice fence to protect those precious porcelain pieces. Setting boundaries with a selfish person is like trying to calm a child having a tantrum. But trust me, it's very important for your own sanity. You need to draw clear boundaries and let them know in no uncertain terms that you are not to be treated like a rag. Listen up, pretty boys, because this part is very important. Never, ever let someone else's ego diminish your own worth. You are amazing, you are valuable, and you deserve to be treated with respect no matter how inflated someone's ego is. It's easy to get lost in the shadow of the egoist, constantly questioning your thoughts, feelings, and needs. But it's time to reclaim your own power. Focus on your own growth, your own hobbies, your own personal happiness. Remember all those amazing qualities that make you you? Develop them, embrace them, shout them from the rooftops. Don't be afraid to shine your light, even if it means outshining their inflated sense of self-importance. So, guys, let's talk strategy. You've put on your emotional armor, your boundaries are securely in place, and you're ready to engage with the selfie taker in your life. But how, you think? How do you communicate with someone who's convinced they're the star of the show and you're just holding the script? Well, it's not easy, I agree. You see, selfish people are like Teflon-coated frying pans. Your words seem to slip off them. They are masters of prevarication, always finding a way to turn the conversation on themselves. It's like trying to have a rational argument with a parrot that repeats the same praise phrases. Annoying? Yes, it does. But fear not, my friends. There are ways to penetrate that impenetrable armor of ego. The key is to be strategic, patient, and maybe have a drink beforehand. Before you rush into battle armed with your newfound social skills, let's talk about the art of strategic retreat. Sometimes the best way to win is to not engage at all. Sometimes the most effective way to deal with a selfie is to just shut down. You have the right to choose your battles, and sometimes the smartest move is to just walk away. All right, lovebirds, let's get real. Trying to cultivate empathy in an egomaniac. It's like teaching a cat to fetch. It's not really in their nature. Imagine you're dealing with a human being whose emotional arsenal lacks several important tools, namely the ones that say compassion, understanding, and interest in anyone other than yourself. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, to help them find those missing tools, and maybe even learn how to use them. I'm not gonna lie, it's going to require a fair amount of patience and creativity, and perhaps even divine intervention. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was the empathic egomaniac. It's a slow, gradual process, like watching paint dry, but with the potential for a much more satisfying result. Don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes it's hard for selfish people to look inside someone else's emotions. Try to help your partner change empathy, Offer to watch a movie together that evokes strong emotions and discuss the feelings of the characters. This can help your partner learn to empathize. Think of situations where your partner can practice empathy and encourage their attempt to understand you. Before you decide to tackle your partner's emotional development on your own, let's talk about the power of professional help. Sometimes, my friends, you have to call in the heavy artillery. That is, a therapist who specializes in working with, shall we say, egocentric personalities. Imagine you wouldn't try to fix a broken leg with duct tape and prayer, would you? No, you go to a doctor, someone who really knows what they're doing. An experienced therapist can provide a safe, neutral space for your partner to explore the root causes of their selfishness, develop healthier coping mechanisms, and perhaps even, dare I say it, cultivate a modicum of empathy. Getting a selfie into therapy is like herding cats. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. The key is to approach it with empathy, firmness, and maybe a little lie about free pizza. So, my dears, we've talked about the joys, or lack thereof, of living with a selfish person. But let's get serious for a minute. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, things just don't get better. Moreover, it may even worsen. So, how do you know when it's time to wave the white flag and call for help? Listen to your intuition. If you're feeling devastated and humiliated, it's a sign that something needs to change. So you've recognized the SOS signals and are ready to call for backup. But where do you go? Well, my friend, it's time to enlist the help of a professional. I mean, you wouldn't try to do surgery on your own, right? No, you will go to a qualified surgeon who has the skills and experience to handle this task. A therapist is like an emotion mechanic. He can help you identify the root of the problem, develop healthier communication patterns, and navigate the complexities of living with a selfie. I know what you're thinking right now. But my partner will never agree to go to therapy. And you're probably right. Selfish people are not self-aware or willing to admit that they need help. But that doesn't mean you can't go on your own. Let's talk a little about you, my friend. Yes, about you. Someone who put up with the antics of an egomaniac, set boundaries. But it's time to turn the focus inward. Imagine, you can't pour from an empty vessel. It's time to invest in your own growth, your own hobbies. Remember, self-care is not selfishness. It's a necessity. Learning is light, not learning is darkness. Don't worry about your development and discovery. It not only brings you joy, but also makes you more confident. Keep exercising, creating, or learning something new. This fills your life with meaning and desire. Your personal growth can inspire your partner and show them that life is rich and varied. I know what you're thinking right now. But how can I focus on myself when I'm constantly dealing with another person's inflated ego? And that's a reasonable question, my friend. Living with an egomaniac can be like being trapped in his orbit. But you are not defined by the selfish person in your life. You are a unique individual with your own dreams and passions. So take action, my friend. Your light shines brightest when you are living an authentic life. So, my dears, it's time for a little audience participation. Have you ever dated, lived with, or, heaven forbid, been married to someone who thinks the world revolves around them? Spill it, my friends. What were the telltale signs? How did their selfishness manifest itself? And, most importantly, how did you deal with it? Have you tried any of the techniques we talked about? Have you made up your own? Or did you just say, "to hell with it," and rushed for the nearest exit? Your stories, my friends, are not just amusing anecdotes, are valuable lessons on how to navigate the treacherous terrain of selfishness. By sharing your experience, you are helping others who may be struggling with similar situations. So don't be shy. Write in the comments below and let's create a safe space for sharing, support, and maybe even a little laughter. Because let's face it, sometimes you have to laugh to keep from crying. Remember, we're all in the same boat, my friends. And sometimes the best way to deal with life's challenges is to connect with those who have been through it, done it, and survived to talk about it. So let's hear it. What's your story about the selfie? And what wise advice do you have for those who may be in a similar situation? So, My dear ones, you have heard stories, shared your experiences, and now it's time to arm yourself with the necessary tools to navigate the wild and silly world of living with a selfie. Think of it as your selfie survival kit. First of all, let's talk about boundaries, kids. Remember those invisible force fields? Yes, they are non-negotiable. You have to protect your energy and your time, because that's the way it is. Remember, you're a rock star. Now, my friends, let's talk about the most important tool in your selfie survival kit. Love yourself. Yes, you heard me. When you're dealing with someone who is constantly trying to dim your shine, it's more important than ever to turn on your inner spotlight. Remember all those amazing qualities that make you you? Embrace them, celebrate them, and never ever let anyone, especially an egomaniac, make you feel less than extraordinary. Because here's the thing, my friends. You are rock stars. You are worthy of love, respect, and relationships that feed your soul, not just someone else's ego. So go forth and shine, my friend, and never let anyone tarnish your brilliance. Danger. Red prohibition signs ahead. We've discussed a lot of things today. Setting boundaries and developing empathy. Putting your own well-being first. Recognizing red flags. Time to say, ciao cacao, egomania, and run for the exit. Flashing neon signs screaming danger. Let's take off the rose-colored glasses and face the truth. It's time to say, bye-bye, boy, and get your life back. You are not a minor character in his movie. The constant pattern of disrespect is a major red flag. Deep-seated disrespect for your thoughts and feelings. He makes you feel small, insignificant. That's not love, that's control. Relationships built on control are as stable as a house of cards in the wind. You're not a minor character in his movie, you are the star of your own life. Think of humor as your secret weapon, your emotional shield against the onslaught of self-centeredness. It is a way of deflecting negativity, diffusing tense situations, and remind myself that, hey, the whole selfie thing? She's pretty ridiculous if you think about it. I'm not talking about mean-spirited banter right now, or sarcastic remarks, although, let's be honest, a little teasing never hurt anyone. I'm talking about finding the funny in the unpleasant, the absurd in the everyday. Because when you can laugh at a situation, you're taking away her power. You refuse to let it break you. You choose joy, even in the face of egomania. And that, my friends, is a very powerful thing. Start by paying attention to the little things, the everyday absurdities that makes you roll your eyes and think, you've got to be kidding me. Like when your partner spends hours fancying up while you're trying to get everyone out the door, or when he begins to detail his latest triumph while you're trying to tell him about your day. Instead of storing up your irritation, try to see the humor in the situation. Imagine you're watching a sitcom where your partner is the self-loving protagonist and you're a witty best friend who's always making sarcastic comments. And don't be afraid to share a laugh with your partner, unless, of course, he's the kind of guy who doesn't get the joke. Sometimes, light teasing can be a sensitive way to point out his self-centered tendencies and maybe even encourage him to laugh at himself. And now, my dears, it's time to divert from theory and get to the point. The best way to learn is on the front lines, from those who have been through it and survived. So grab your popcorn, make yourself comfortable, and get ready for some serious conversation. These are stories of love, loss, and random eye-rolling inducing moments. Because let's be honest, sometimes the best way to get over a selfie is to laugh at its ridiculousness. Take Sveta, name change to protect the awesome but slightly traumatized, for example. Sveta was a successful entrepreneur, a creative person with a heart of gold. She fell in love with Mark, a charming, ambitious, and egotistical lawyer. Mark's confidence was intoxicating, his determination inspiring. But the honeymoon was over, and Sveta began to notice a pattern. Mark's confidence turned to arrogance. His single-mindedness became all-consuming. Conversations revolved around him, and Sveta began to feel like a secondary character. Sveta did not back down in the face of difficulties. She set boundaries, communicated her needs, but Mark was unresponsive. He was too busy with himself to notice the damage to their relationship. So, my friends, we have come to the end of our ego trip. We explored the intricacies of living with a selfish person, from their self-centered antics to how their behavior can affect those around them. But one burning question hangs in the air. Can selfish people change? Can a person who is convinced that the world revolves around them wake up one morning and realize that, hey, maybe other people's needs and feelings matter too? And the answer, my friends, is a resounding maybe. But, my dears, you can't change another person. You can't force him to be more empathetic, more self-aware, or less obsessed with his reflection in the mirror. The only person you have control over is yourself. The only person you can change is yourself. And that, my friends, is incredibly liberating. It means recognizing your own worth, respecting your own needs, and setting boundaries. It means deciding what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not. And that means having the courage to walk away from any situation, any relationship that no longer serves you. Because life, my friends, is too short to settle for anything less than extraordinary love. Thank you for being with us. If this video was helpful to you, give it a like and subscribe to the Psychology channel. Click on the bell to not miss new releases. He who is forewarned is forearmed. Share your stories and questions in the comments. See you in the next video.